Good evening and welcome to the Rangers Rabble St Johnstone preview show. Tonight we're joined by Graeme and Wilf. How are you guys doing?
All right, well, thanks.
Good stuff, guys. Good. Right, we'll just get straight to the meat of it. St Johnstone Wednesday night, obviously another game in the road to hopefully winning this league title. You know, when you look at the weekend's result, it was obviously a massive comeback for us. How important is this game on Wednesday night in terms of the next kind of run of fixtures? I'll come to you first, Phil.
It's very important, mate. Just as we've said before, it's like game-to-game basis. The best mentality to go when you've got a lot of games coming up at the same time. So it's very important.
Wolf, how about yourself?
Oh, I'm 100%, excuse me, 100% agreement with that, Willie. It's, as we keep saying, the management keep telling it, the team keep telling us every game's a cup final. I mean, we've said for years that when teams come to play us, every game's a cup final for them. Well, this season, every game has to be a cup final for us. I mean, we are going to drop points. Let's be honest, it's going to happen. But we need to keep winning. At the moment we're 16 points clear. I mean, that game, Motherwell on Saturday, had we slipped up, that 16 points would be 4. Because they'd be looking at it saying, well, they've got the 9 points from the 3 games in hand, but they're now looking at it as it's 16 points, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know? So we need to keep that. And we can only look at a game at a time, but the next 4 games are critical in the season, but we can only look at one at a time.
Yeah, I mean, even just looking back at the previous 2 games, obviously we've been missing, in many people's eyes, our number 1 striker in Alfredo Morelos. Is it really quite simple now for the manager just to make the decision that Alfredo gets back into the team? Wolf, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I expected him to miss the St Mirren game anyway, which I think had a lot of bearing on why we accepted the 2-match suspension on the Tuesday night. But, I mean, it really showed how much we miss him. Okay, he's not been scoring goals. He's only got something like 2 or 3 goals this season. But the movement he's got is incredible. I mean, he pulls centre-halves into places they don't want to be. They don't know. I would imagine a lot of teams' game plan would be, right, they'll stick one centre-half on Morelos and follow him. But he's going all over the place. So if he's pulling a centre-half outside the box onto the halfway line, there's going to be space in behind. So I think we need to put him back in.
Yeah, what about yourself? Is it just a straightforward that Alfredo comes back into the team on Wednesday night?
Definitely for me, mate. It's not just when he pulls the centre half out of position. It means like whoever, like the right winger, if it's Roof, he comes in centrally and that takes the wing back in, which gives all that space for Tavernier. And you noticed in the St Mirren game, like when they doubled up, there was no space for Tavernier. It he's still a threat, but not as big if he's got all that space ahead of him. So for me, Morelos is important, and I think a lot of people need to realise that.
Yeah, look, I think the last 2 games do show how important Alfredo is. I mean, as Wolf points out, I understand that maybe like his stats this year don't hold up to his previous years in terms of the goals, but it's his work rate and the way that he can pull defenders. It's the fact that he works the channels. It's the fact that he drops deep to pick up the ball, which allows, like, you know, the 2 fullbacks to get higher up the pitch, which allows us to be on the front foot more. There's so much more to Alfredo than the goals. And I think that's something that has been more noticeable maybe in the last 2 games with him being missing, because we don't have the same kind of focal point that Alfredo offers. And it's no offence to Cedric or to Kamar or to Jermaine Defoe, etc. But, you know, it's Alfredo is quite freakish in terms of what he offers us as that main striker. He's got his power, you know, his link-up play is excellent. The fact he can drop that a little bit deeper allows other players to be more dangerous. So, yeah, like, I pretty much agree with you guys. I don't think it's a tough decision for the manager. And I think it's basically Alfredo's ready to go. He's back in the team on Wednesday night. And Alfredo probably plays the next 5, 6, 10, 15 games because he is just that important to how we play as a team. Just looking back at the game at the weekend, obviously, we felt as though the game changers were the guys off the bench, guys like Joe Aribo, Cedric Itten, and also latterly Yanis Hadji. Do you think it's now time for Yanis to get a run in the team, or does that little cameo maybe kind of show what Hadji can do, but that we've not seen enough of it so far? I'll come to you first, Wilf.
I think it shows he deserves a run in the team. I mean, he is a he is what they call a moments player. You know, you're not the work with him all the time.
Yeah.
But as long as the midfield's working hard, the way we play, we get so much of the ball at the back. I mean, so many teams, and St Johnstone will probably be exactly the same. They'll sit on a halfway line and say, right, take the ball as long as you want. And once you step over the halfway line, they'll come at us. So we can afford to have Hadji not involved in the play, you know, a lot until we take the step into the final third of the field. And I mean, his assist record's fantastic. He's still got, I think he's still second or third on the assists, and he's hardly played this season. So I think he's worthy of a start in the team, certainly, yeah.
Graeme, does it make it easier, and it's no offence to St Johnstone, obviously they're still a good team, but does it make it easier to put Giannis into a game against St Johnstone than it would be, say, against Hibs or Celtic, for instance?
Yeah, I think he would do well in all the games if given the chance, but I know what you mean. Like, the games are kind of more like for hard tackling, lots of running and stuff like that, and Hadji's, like Will says, a moments player. So I think St Johnstone and teams like that would be more better for him, suited.
Yeah, look, I think one of the things that stands out about Giannis, and obviously Wilf points out a really good point from the factual points, you know, in terms of like the assists and the goals. I think he's like second in the table for assists, which is ridiculous really for a guy who, in all honesty, hasn't really played that many games so far this season. But when you look at some of the goals that he's created, it's been that little spark of genius. And I think when you've got that kind of ability and that you can open teams up with something either special or simple, I just feel like Wednesday night's a good chance for him to come in and do that. And maybe Ryan Kent's maybe not been at his best recently. So it could be that maybe Ryan just gets a wee shot on the bench and that Giannis comes in, or we could look to maybe change our shape a little bit and maybe look at it more as a 4-2-3-1 where Hadji's almost in the free role as a number 10. Because I think we're all in agreement. We don't expect like St Johnstone to come out and be gung-ho. You know, they're going to sit in, they're going to look to protect their box, they're going to do a lot of the, you know, the things that we expect of them. So can you be that little bit more attacking, that little bit more aggressive? And by doing so, Giannis could come into that starting 11 and maybe make that difference. Moving on to kind of one of the kind of later points, looking recently at Kemar Roof, I think at the start of the season, we all accepted that if we could keep him fit, that he could be a really big player for us this season. We've obviously lost him for a small patch of the season to injury. How important is Roof now to not just the starting 11, but to how we play as a team, Wilf?
I think Kemar Roof could be the player that propels us to the title. Obviously not on his own because it's a team game, but I mean, I noticed really for the first time in the League Cup defeat to St Mirren that every single time we had the ball, he was in space. He always seems to find space. It was the same against Motherwell. He always seems to be able to find space. And tacking that to the point of Morelos coming back, if Morelos is dragging defenders all over the place, and as Graeme says, allowing other players to come in so the winger, their fullbacks have to tuck in, that gives Roof even more room. And he's always makes space, he's always available. And to have an attacking player that can do that, it's, to me, that's priceless because you're going to get the ball in attacking positions and the man knows how to finish. I mean, the goals he got at the weekend are just the incredible finishes. So I think he could be really, really pivotal to us in the next few games, certainly.
Graeme, what about yourself? How impressed have you been with Kemar since the start of the season?
Been very impressed, mate. I think it was Shelley Kerr on Rangers TV at the weekend there said like how quick he turns with the ball at his feet. And I did notice it, but I never really noticed as much as she said. But he drags people about, finds the space, and again it makes space for others, as Will says. So very important. Plus his goal tally, he's been a good forward in front of goal as well.
Yeah, look, I think my biggest concern in the summer, and I think I tweeted about it at the time, was his injury record. And I think that was the biggest fear when we signed him. I don't think there was any doubt in his ability. You know, anybody that's seen him play for Leeds under Bielsa realised he was a talent. Obviously, his time in Anderlecht was a bit up and down because of injuries, and I think that was maybe one of the things that obviously concerned not just me, but several other, you know, supporters that are obviously on social media. But I have to say that since the start of the season, he's just get better and better and better. His ability to find space is so difficult to defend against. And as Wilf says, like those two finishes at the weekend are very much instinctive finishes, you know, and it's just, but he's got so much more to his game. It's like his ability to link the play up, his ability to stretch the game. You know, he could easily play as a number 9, but he can also play as a 7 or an 11, which gives us so much like sort of variety to how we want to play as a team. And I think that's the exciting thing about Roof, is that he offers us so much in so many different departments. And I think, you know, if we get to the end of this season and we're fortunate enough to win the league title, I think he's probably going to be the guy that is probably sitting at the top of the leaderboard for goals for us, because to be on, I think it's like 10 goals already he's on.
Yeah.
You know, he could easily be at 25 goals by the end of the season if we keep him fit. And I think in the up-and-coming big games, we're going to be very reliant on him as well to get some of those goals in those important games. And his pace against many of these teams is going to be massive for us. So looking at the weekend and looking at Wednesday night, what are the changes for you guys? Is it really just Morelos in, or obviously the manager doesn't appear to have done his kind of press conference yet from what I've seen? Do we expect maybe Balogun to come back in for Helander? Wilf, will come to you first.
I don't expect Balogun to come back in.
Right.
I mean, he was out. It was a concussion he was out with, and as I understand those things, I know the manager said at the weekend press conference he hopes to have him back for Wednesday. I think the concussion protocol is normally 6 or 7 days,
Right.
So I don't think he'd be fit to come back in. But even if he was, unless Hellander's had a reaction to coming back in after his injury layoff, I would just stick with Philip Helander, because he's done nothing wrong, and I would certainly leave him in. The midfield, it's a worry for me that Jack's not back yet.
Yeah.
I mean, the last 3 weeks he's been not far away.
Yeah.
So if he's still not far away, then we don't change the midfield. If he's available, I would put Jack in, because we've really missed him. Because to me in midfield, he's like Roof is up front. He always seems to find space, you know, to be available for the ball. Maybe not do anything great with it, maybe just to knock it on, but it keeps the possession. So I'd put Jack back in the team if he's fit. But if he's not fit, I would just leave it the way it was. And then, as you say, Morelos in up front.
Graeme, what about yourself, mate? Have you got any other ideas, or do you go along the same kind of route as what Wilf has said?
Kind of the same, but I think I'd keep Helander in, because I like that left-sided centre half. Makes it. But I think Barisic works a wee bit better sometimes when the ball's coming out with the left foot. Again, if Jack's fit, I think he goes in. The last 3 weeks have showed how important he is in the middle of the park. Morelos straight in. But I have got a funny feeling Hadji might come in, and I think you were hinting at earlier, maybe Ryan Kent that comes out.
Yep.
But pretty much the same.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest thing for us now is the fact we can actually talk about taking guys out of the team. Last season and the season before that, we pretty much knew what our strongest starting 11 was. And when one or two of those guys dropped out, we were thinking, right, this isn't so good. Whereas at the weekend, when you look at the fact we can bring on Itten, we can bring on Zungu, we can bring on Aribo and Hadji, it shows you the depth that we've got on the bench. And the fact that obviously Alfredo's now back from his 2-game ban, I think that for me is the biggest thing. So if we were to make a couple of changes, it certainly doesn't make us any less potent going forward or any poorer at the back. But I agree with Wilf, it would be interesting with Balogun, because obviously the sort of concussion protocols do kind of dictate at times if the player's able to return or not. So I'm sure that's something obviously Rangers will be dealing with, you know, behind closed doors. Okay, finally, guys, what do you think the score's going to be? I'll just ask Wilf, how many goals are Rangers going to score, mate?
5.
Jesus. Wow. That's quite a response, mate. 5?
You go 5, yeah.
Jesus. Right, Graeme, what about yourself, mate? Do you think St Johnstone will score, and how many goals will Rangers score?
I think it'll be a 2-0 Rangers, but it'll be 1-0 up to the last maybe 10 minutes or so, I think.
Oh, no. I couldn't handle that, Graeme.
I don't think I can after that Malone game either, but
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, you know, we were talking kind of before the show started about St Johnstone. From the last 5 home games, they've had 1 win, 2 defeats and 2 draws. Overall this season, they're sitting 10th in the league table, 4 wins, 5 draws and 9 defeats. So without being disrespectful to St Johnstone, we're in first. We've dropped 4 points this season, playing against a team that's in 10th position after 18 league games. Our attitude should be that we're going to go there and win, and that we're good enough to go and score a few goals. So I'm probably in between you two. I think maybe like a 2 or 3-0. But I would like us to be comfortable in the last 20 or 30 minutes so that we could take some players off.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a run of games now. You know, the next fortnight's really tough. You know, there's going to be some really tough games. Like the Hibs game's going to be tough at Irish and Boxing Day. You know that Hibs are going to come and have a go. And I quite enjoy that about Hibs. I think that's something I look forward to. You know, I much prefer teams that come and have a go. So obviously Wednesday night's going to be different. I think we'll need to be the aggressor. So yeah, I'm going to go for 3-0 Rangers. And I just hope that we get off to a good strong start. Yeah, look, mate, I think we're all like Wilf. We don't want to be hanging on. We don't want to be sitting 1-0 with 10 minutes to go, because we know over previous years and all these years watching Rangers, anything can happen. You know, a penalty, an own goal, a freakish strike for 25 yards in the top bin. You know, we've seen it over the years, so we'd much prefer to be comfortable, but Rangers don't seem to like to do that to us that often, so let's just hope we can get a good win against St Johnstone. Right, guys, thanks very much again for listening into the pod. Really appreciate everybody taking time out to listen to speak. We should have live match reaction to the St Johnstone game on Wednesday night. We'll get that put out on all the social media channels. Make sure you give us a wee like and a wee subscribe on YouTube, and check us out on all the other platforms as well. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers, guys. Bye.